Hello, I'm Eric Pratt, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, which is multi-camera virtual sets in vMix. Now, what is a multi-camera virtual set? When you see a virtual set, it's a camera that's being chroma keyed over a background. Now, in order to make multiple cameras do this, we need to have backgrounds that respect the perspective difference. So we're going to use one of the multiple angle virtual sets from VirtualSetWorks that allows you to have center, left, and right positions. So you can have 3 different cameras at multiple zoom levels. This would let you have a wide shot, several different close-ups of different people, or just different angles of the same close-up shot like we're doing today. So let's begin. So a virtual set is made up of a number of different things. And in order to do that, bring in those different elements, we need to open them all as inputs in vMix. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to open the virtual set itself. So we're going to go down to Add Input, and we're going to open up a virtual set. Now, there are different ways of loading virtual sets into vMix. One is to have them just appear in this list. And then the other, if they're not here, as in, like if you have a more extensive library, is to click this Browse button up here, and then that lets you navigate to a folder. So I'm going to go to the different collections of virtual sets that I have for vMix, and I'm going to go to the D close-up angle, which is the one that I've chosen to match this shot. And down here it says Select Folder. Now up at the top, it gives you that folder's address, and you might think, well, what do I do now? In order to open this angle up that we've just browsed to that folder, we need to click OK. So once we click OK, it'll show up this virtual set here. And from this setup menu, we can see the different layers that are available here. And so we have talent, 2 different screen configurations, something called room and something called background. We'll get into that in a minute. To start with, we need our talent. So in order to set the talent up, we'll select the talent from this drop down here. And I'm going to select the one other input that I have. I've brought in a camera input, which is a PTZ camera via SDI. And we can see it looks like I am over that shot now. So there's one other thing that we need to do before we move on is we need to chroma key this shot. So to do that, we're going to go into that camera's input. We're going to click this little configuration button here, and we're going to select color key. And color key will let us choose the color that we want to chroma key. And then I'm just going to use a preset to kind of get us most of the way there. So this preset has given me most of the removal of color that I want, but you can still see there's some elements. You can see part of the office here, a little bit of chair and rug that we don't want. So that's done under the next tab down called Position. And under Position are some settings called Crop. We want to crop from the 1920 side of things. So I'm going to crop over until it's gone. And now you can see in my program output that I am in front of this virtual set. But there's still content missing from the screens. And those are these screens and screen C. But in order to put something there, we have to have them as inputs. So I'm going to load a nice video of Sydney skyline, and I'm also going to load a presentation. And I need to make sure I get these right because one goes into the screen on the left and one goes into the screen on the right. So now we have our content is being populated in the screens. You can, however, see that there's a little bit of bars on the side of this this Sydney skyline, which I'm going to remove by cropping it. And then stretching it out. So now that this shot has been completed, we can see what the ability for a virtual set to do is that it can take our not necessarily attractive office and turn it into something that we can easily present and discuss content with. So this could be a video of my product or a testimonial, a vMix call, somebody that we're going to interview. And over here is product pictures, you name it. So that configuration process that I just went through, I'm going to go through that again for all of the other camera inputs. So in order to do that, I'm going to load my other cameras. Now I have 3 cameras hooked up to this system via several different methods. So I have a Thunderbolt capture, a USB capture, and then just a regular webcam, which is mounted on the top of my camera, of my laptop. So you can see camera 3, camera 2, hello, and camera 1. And I have to go through and chroma key these and crop them and load the virtual set backgrounds. And we might do that a little bit in fast forward. So. All right, so I've gone through and I've imported the rest of our cameras and set up the remainder of the virtual sets. But we can see before I move on that some additional positioning needs to happen. So looking at this shot over here, I am not where I want to be. I'm kind of on the left side of the screen looking off stage, which is not where I want to be. So I'm going to actually just slide myself over here, and now my eye line's a little bit better. I can look at you guys, I can look at my products. That one's good. And then this shot, I feel like I'm a little zoomed in. That's probably this setting. If you bear with me, I'm going to actually turn that off and turn on there. That's a little bit better. And I'm just going to position myself a little bit more over here. Now that we have our 3 different shots set up, we can go between them very easily. We go from shot 1 over to shot 2, and then last to shot 3. So in that way, we can use the different camera angles and the different backgrounds that we've created to transition between the different kinds of backgrounds that we have for the different purposes that we've created them for, whether they're wide shots specific to particular talents, or whether they cover different kinds of content, like a particular kind of screen. Now I want to talk a little bit about the other setups elements within the virtual set, which is if you click from setup over to camera, there are 4 different camera angles here. And on my close-up shot here, I have these 4, and some of them are rather quite a bit closer than is necessary. So I'm going to reconfigure some of these shots. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can right-click on any of these, and it will bring up a dialog called the Virtual Set Zoom Editor, which will let you adjust things like zoom. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to make sure that I'm panned off to the right. And then I'm going to create another one, which is not quite so zoomed in, but let's say panned the other way. So these 3 positions will let me give a little bit of movement. And if I do them nice and slow, like let me increase up here, this is the speed at which they occur. I don't want to make it. So let's say I move it to 10 seconds. That's going to give it a really subtle movement, which you can just barely notice if you're watching the screen now. And if you cycle between those 3 different camera positions, you'll see it's moving very slowly, but it's not so much so that it's going to really distract the viewer, but give you kind of a nice subtle movement, which will help increase the quality of your production. You can do that for each of the different inputs, and you can use it even to go so far as doing things like region of interest. If you're bringing in, say, a 4K camera input over a 4K virtual set background, you can go to different parts of that set and actually use a single virtual set as multiple regions. You can have your wide shot and your close-ups all in the same shot, defined by this this different area. So the next thing that I want to talk about is sort of the next step up in the level of complexity. So what we've done is we've taken our 3 different camera shots and we've created the backgrounds for them. But I'd like to also talk a little bit about utilizing PTZ control. So a PTZ camera is capable of giving you multiple, even more backgrounds. So we have our 3 different cameras, but each of these cameras can also be positioned. So this camera here is a PTZ camera that we will set up using vMix's PTZ control. And it's on this input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my settings, PTZ, and then go to PTZ optics, happen to know what the IP address of this is. So let's see if it's connected. And then I'm going to create an input at this button. It's created this icon down here. And then I'm also going to zoom in a little bit. So I've created 2 different presets. And you can see that the virtual set is not following them. And that's what we're going to work on next. But now that we've made the virtual set presets, I'm going to take this shot, which is D close-up. I'm going to make a clone of it down here. And it's called D close-up. And instead of using the original camera input, I'm going to use this one, number 9 PTZ Ultra Studio Mini Recorder 1. And you'll see why in a second. So for talent, instead of selecting number 1, I'm going to select number 9. And I'm going to create another clone of this. These are going to be our 2 clones. And I'm going to choose number 10. I have my 2 PTZ virtual set presets now. So I have my wide shot here on the left, and I can dissolve to it. So here we are with the wide shot. And then I'm going to cut back to my other camera. And in preview, I can select my other PTZ shot and watch the left the preview window here. So the PTZ camera zooms in based on the preset that we created over here off of 10, which is now associated with this this input name here. I can toggle back and forth between these 2 presets in preview. We don't want to do that live. So when I change between them, the different PTZ settings are sent to the camera, and then we use a different corresponding background. So there's the closer one. You can see there's just 2 of the screens, 2.5 of the screens showing, and then the slightly wider shot. And we can get pretty elaborate with that. We could have a lot of different combinations, as long as we understand that that has to be done in the preview window. And so with the close-up shot now, I'll do a close-up of me to program, and we're live, and then again, take it away. And with that, I think we've covered most of the different things concerning working with multiple cameras in vMix using virtual sets. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to help. Thanks for watching.